it's great. Yeah.
And so I'm sure this is Valley time, so I'm sure people will keep coming.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and get started then. I appreciate everyone coming out for this. I'm sure that folks will still be straggling in as we go, all the way up till 6:30 probably. I'm Professor Bill Green. I am Assistant Professor of Political Science here at South Texas College and the Assistant Chair of the Political Science Department. I am also one of the two advisors, the faculty advisors for the Political Science Club here, and one of the most active clubs on campus. So we've done a lot of things, including, let's see, in the last election we had a candidate forum as well for the congressional seat, and that went over well too. So hopefully this will go over well too. So I'd like to start out by having our campus administrator, Mr. Danny Montez, to come up and just give a nice welcome to everyone here. So give a nice welcome to Mr. Montez.
Thank you, Bill. Again, my name is Danny Montes. I'm the campus administrator, and I want to welcome each and every one of you. And I want to thank the candidates for taking time from their busy schedules to be here. You know, guys, education and politics go hand in hand, whether we want to admit that or not. The more informed we are, the better for our community. So tonight, you know, again, I want to thank you for being here because this is very important. The interaction, whatever information is given out here, it's very important that we take that to heart. We make informed decisions, and that's really what this is about. I think every candidate here knows that they're here to give their best to the community. So thank you for being here. Ask questions and listen to what they have to say because this is very important. And I applaud you for taking time from your busy schedule to be here. Welcome to the Mid-Valley campus, and it's a pleasure to have each and every one of you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Montez. Yes, as I was saying to someone earlier, we are the best kept secret of the South Texas College system. Best campus to be at. I would also, next, before we get started, I'd like for our other faculty advisor, Dr. Brian Smith, to just say a couple words about the club itself. If you don't know about the Political Science Club here, the students here. Dr. Smith?
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, I'm Brian Smith. I'm one of the teachers here at Mid-Valley campus. I teach political science. I'm also one of the advisors to the Political Science Club. I'd like to say a couple of words. First of all, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Really appreciate you coming down.
Well, we appreciate being here tonight.
Thank you. Okay, why a club? Right? Alexis de Tocqueville talks about what makes America great, way before Donald Trump was talking about this. What makes America great? It's citizen participation. It's volunteer citizen participation. It's one of the primary ways of cultivating virtue in a citizenry. It's one of the guards against tyranny in a republic. So participating in clubs like this is what you can do to hold on to your liberty, to hold on to free government. The Political Science Club is just one of the clubs that allow for this. So we do forums like this, we do movie nights, we do all sorts of things, right, to supplement your education. So things like this are not unimportant. Anyway, with that in mind, I'd just like to invite you, if you're not a member of the Political Science Club and would like to, please come talk to Professor Green or myself. We're in the hallways often, right? That's right, and you don't have to be a major. Yeah, excellent. Okay, well, welcome, and I'm sure you don't want to hear from me more. You'd like to hear from the stars of the show. So, thank you.
Okay. What we're going to do here is, in case you don't know, and some of you might, obviously most of you know that we do have an election coming up. We have a primary election coming up for the Democratic and the Republican parties. And Texas does something that not a lot of other states do. Most states, they choose their county political party chair people at county convention. Most states, that's how most parties do this. In Texas, we say, nope, we're going to be very grassroots, and we're going to we're going to put that on the ballot itself. Hey, we don't have enough on the ballot already, right? We've just got 18 pages of ballot. So we actually elect. Can you hear me? Hello? 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 Check, 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 check. Okay. Hello? 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 Can you hear me? All right. So we actually vote for our county party chairs. Now, that's for the two major parties. We're thankful tonight we actually have one of the third parties. The only other party that's ever on the ballot now since the last election. So the Libertarian Party also has county party chairs, but they don't do it by primary. They do it by convention. They have a county convention coming up in March. But it'd be a good idea to have all three parties represented here tonight. So what we're going to do is, thank you. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to start out, and we're going to have some quick introductions from the folks that are up here. And then we've got some questions that students have been working on to ask all of the candidates for chair up here. And then we're going to open it up. Whatever time we have left, we'll open it up for any questions that y'all might have as well. So if you don't know yet whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or a Libertarian, well, maybe tonight you'll make up your mind as to which ballot you'd like to pull or convention you'd like to go to. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Again, thank all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. What I'd like to do is let's start off by, I'm going to start down on your end, Danny, and I'd like you to introduce yourself and then speak for 1 to 3 minutes tops. And what I'd like you to talk about is just sort of give an autobiography about yourself, just to start with, a little bit about yourself. So we'll start here. So is it not live? It might not be. Can you hear me? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Test, test. Yeah. A little more? Yeah. Test, test. Test, test, test. How about that?
Always technical problems.
I'll do it one more time. 2 more times. Test 1. There, right? There you go. I think do we have it?
Oh, I can hear it.
Yeah. Okay, great. Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Danny Diaz. I'm your candidate for Democratic Party Chair. It's great to be here in Wesco, STC Mid-Valley Campus. Thank you, Dr. Green, is that right? Dr. Green, for having this opportunity to speak directly with some of the students here, some of the citizens here in this part of the valley. I'm originally from Palmview, Texas. I still live in Palmview, Texas. I'm a product of the La Jolla Independent School District in the west side of the county. I attended the University of Arkansas up in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Woolpig-Suey, for probably nobody knows that. I graduated with an undergraduate degree in history, double major in political science. And it was during my time there that I got really involved in politics. I joined student organizations at that time, like LULAC, and I got involved with issues for Dreamers, for the DREAM Act, and I got the opportunity to go to places like Washington, D.C., and at that time when I was living in Arkansas, to Little Rock, having the opportunity to, talk directly to my legislators and the congressmen and senators to talk about the issues that I cared about that affected me, that, the worldview that I had, I was able to express it directly, and that had an impact in me and convinced me that I had a big voice, a much bigger voice than I grew accustomed to thinking that I had, right? So soon after that, I came back to the Valley after I finished school, and I worked with a nonprofit named Lupe, and I got to organize in colonias across the county to try to improve infrastructure in our county. Things like drainage and affordable housing, and trying to bring more jobs and more opportunities for people. Another thing that I really like to focus on is public education, because I currently work in education for the La Jolla Independent School District, where I'm helping a lot of our seniors transition into college. So it's a Pell Grant, it's scholarships, it's programs, it's really targeting our first generation college students to be able to succeed and be able to provide for their families. So I think that the Democratic Party has a history of fighting for these opportunities, fighting for the Pell Grant, fighting for people like my families and so many families historically here in South Texas to be able to get to the next level financially, right? We always want the next generation to do better. And that's why I'm a Democrat, and I really want to focus on the bread and butter issues to be able to create opportunities for people and our families to be able to succeed. So I think that's
Great.
3 minutes, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Okay, next, 1 to 3 minutes.
Hello.
There you go.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Norma Ramirez, and I am your Democratic candidate for Democratic Party Chair. I come from very humble beginnings. I come from migrant farm workers. By the age of 5, I no longer had a mother, so I learned to struggle and work very hard. I skipped 8th grade, and when I was a senior, I went to school half a day and had a full-time job. Back when I went, this was not very common as it is today. It was difficult for me as a child coming from very humble beginnings. But I learned that working hard and educating myself was going to be the way that I would be able to be successful in life. I went to Pan American University and I studied accounting. But most important and the most thing that I am proud of is my certificate for the Chicago Board of Trade, where I learned how to trade commodities, which later on went to help me when I became a executive vice president for a very large corporation here in Hidalgo County. There, I oversaw over 200 employees that they were directly responsible for me. I've traveled all over the world, and I have seen poverty. I have also done a lot of missionary work, especially in Africa, where I built several schools for the children that were very needy. And I tell you this story because I think it's important that if you're going to choose a candidate, you choose one that is experienced. I now have my own company. I have 2 boys, a grandson, a grandchild, and one on the way. One of the things that I've always taught my children is ethics, respect, and integrity. And I did that through example. I worked very hard to put my children through college. One of them is a graduate from UNT. He's a computer engineer and graduated with honors. My second child graduated from UTRGV as in a political science. Now this young man is special to me because he did have special needs. When he was 8 years old, I was forced to quit my dynamic job that I loved very much because I had to travel. It was when he was 8 years old that I realized he had some learning disabilities. Consequently, today, I am very proud that I did that because he graduated with honors from UTRGV in political science. He also got accepted into South Texas Law School in Houston. So what I want to tell you today is that I built my own company from nothing. I didn't inherit anything. I did not ask anyone for anything. I did it on my own. And now today, both of my boys head that company. Consequently, it's given me the opportunity to be able to give back to the community the way I've always wished I had. The Democratic Party chair's primary and sole responsibility is to do fundraising. And I think I can do that through my contacts and my business associates and friends. Its second primary responsibility is to oversee the election process so that we can make sure that all things are running efficiently and to the best that the law can do, that all our votes are counted, and that we make sure we do not suppress votes, that we make voting as easy as possible to our community. Our third and most important responsibility is to bring out the votes. If I could have 5 people stand up here, these 3 right here, can you please stand up?
You're about out of time.
What I'm trying to tell you is that only 5 of you represent the voting power that we have, because only less than 15% vote in Hidalgo County. We need to get the vote out. That is priority. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, is your microphone working? Okay, Adrienne, if, however you want to do it. It should be working. Is it not on?
Test, mic check. Testing, mic check, 1, 2, raising up. Testing, test. Got it?
Hello, everyone. My name's Adrienne Pena Garza, and I was born and raised in Hidalgo County. I feel very passionate about this area. I understand that it's predominantly blue, and I'm sure a lot of you are looking at me like I'm crazy, but I'm not, I promise. I was raised humbly. I understand what it is to suffer. I understand what it is to go to bed hungry. I understand what it is to start at minimum wage and earn my way up to $12.50. I understand what it's like I was a medical assistant, and I did most of the work. I felt like I did most of the work. I felt underworked and underpaid, so I decided to further my education, and I changed my major when I took my Intro to Political Science class. They introduced me to the political spectrum, and although I do respect the Democrats and their opinions, I think it's very important for us to also respect the Republicans as well, because we're all Americans. And I believed at that time that I was a conservative Republican. I believe that the Republican Party is a big tent party today. We are no longer just the grand old party. We are the party of growth, opportunity, and prosperity. I would like to feel like, let me go to some of the qualifications that I believe that I have. I was the president of the Hidalgo County Young Republicans. I am now the president emeritus. I served as vice president. When I felt like we weren't getting too much traction and the growth of the GOP I felt was a little stagnant, I got involved with the Texas Young Republicans. And we have meetings every 3 months in a different county throughout the state. And I realized that there's all kinds of Republicans. There's independent Republicans, there's conservative Republicans, there's Libertarian Republicans, and I built and established relationships with many of them. Then on, I was elected National Committee Woman for 2 terms, and I ran for vice chair, and I was elected for that. I decided to go big or go home, so I ran for a position on the Young Republican National Federation Board, and I was elected, and it's just extremely encouraging and empowering to see so much diversity within this party. I think it's time for a change. I think it's time for us to shake things up. You know, we need a 2-party system. Without a 2-party system, it breeds corruption. I think checks and balances is very, very important. I am a personable person. I'm easy to talk to. I'm very active on social media. If you ever have any questions and you want to talk about anything in particular, I'm not just a politician. I actually have done a lot of philanthropy work. I've served on the Boys and Girls Club board of FAR, also the Food Bank board, and I'm also a Rotarian. So I am a compassionate person. I'm a patriot. I support our military. I support the Second Amendment. And I do support students. I support all of you. I understand what it's like to struggle, to not know exactly what your major is going to be. And I'd like to be part of empowering our area and bringing more job opportunities to our area and growing from all this as well. So.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next is Bob Bonds with the Republican Party as well.
First of all, thank you for having us here tonight. And as I look across this room, I see the future of our country and the future of this county. And I see a bright future because you're here, you're being engaged in the political process. And that's very important because there are a lot of people in this community that feel disenfranchised because of corrupt political system, okay, that suppresses people's ideas and dreams in the political process. A little bit about myself. I'm not a native Texan. I grew up a little bit in Texas, but I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. My grandparents, my grandfathers, both of them were coal miners in northern Alabama, so they knew what it was to struggle. They were involved in trying to get the United Mine Workers established to protect the working class people. My parents escaped the poverty of northern Alabama and went to Washington, D.C., where my dad was a bus driver and my mother was a food service worker in a government building. I was a product of a broken marriage in the sense of both my parents had problems. So in many ways, my background is very similar to lots of people that I have met in my campaign. I started my college career at West Texas State University up in Canyon, Texas, working and going to school. And my first involvement in politics was in the 1970 campaign for George Herbert Walker Bush, who wanted to be a United States Senator. It was very interesting, to say the least, especially at that time when Texas was a truly blue state. I dropped out of college, turned down an Army ROTC scholarship, and enlisted in the United States Air Force, where I served for 23 years. I worked my way up through the enlisted ranks. I achieved 2 undergraduate degrees from the University of Maryland while serving my country. I was fortunate to be selected to become an officer. I then picked up a third degree, a master's degree in healthcare administration. So I've worked in the healthcare industry, and I understand the importance of healthcare to the working class people in America. Since I retired 23 years ago, which is the exact number of years in my career, I've been involved in local politics in Oklahoma, where I stayed for a number of years, and then I've been involved in local politics here. I have a long history of community service. I've been on the McAllen Citizens League Board, which I still serve. I've been on the Board of Contributors to the Monitor, where I've spoken out about key issues. I am active in my church. I served as a church treasurer before, so I understand what it takes to run a small business, because running a church is a small business. Been the chairman of 6 years for the McAllen Chamber of Commerce Health Care Committee. And that organization, or that committee's gone away. But the most important thing that I want to convey to you folks tonight is that you are our future. We who are here have a responsibility to help you, to mentor you, to help you step up to fill our shoes when our time for serving is past. If I'm elected, I will take the message of the people and project that across our community, okay? We are powerless under the political system we have in place right now. We are under the soft tyranny of political corruption in Hidalgo County. And if you don't believe me, just look at your newspapers and look at what's out there in social media. So I'm here to change things and to make the Hidalgo County Republican Party a voice for the people. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, Dr. Creed.
Great, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Finally, is your mic live?
Yeah.
Excellent. Finally, we have Mase Molina. He is a candidate for chairman of the Hidalgo Libertarian Party. Go ahead, Mase.
All right, Mase Molina, 30 years old. I'm a certified personal trainer from Mission, Texas, specializing in bodybuilding and contest preparation, including posing, trying to be like the Walmart of bodybuilding, if you will, with a one-stop shop. I got into politics originally in around 2008 with the Ron Paul campaign, and I was more of like an independent Republican. And at one of the political activism clubs there in College Station, someone mentioned the word libertarianism, and they mentioned names like Milton Friedman and Murray Rothbard and things like that. So that's what got me interested in libertarianism, and it was all down the rabbit hole from there. So, you know, met a lot of fun, kind of kooky people at times, but it was all very, very well worthwhile. Didn't finish school, but you know, came back down here, and like many of these other candidates, I also grew up with a financially struggling family. We're middle class now, but it was a long road. Try to make this short and sweet. So I'm also the admin of the Facebook group RGV Libertarians, which, of course, in my humble opinion, is the premier libertarian group in the Valley. So advancing the ideas of liberty and freedom according to libertarian values. So that group is not party affiliated, so we welcome all comers, but anyone who is familiar with the ideals of libertarianism or who wants to learn about the concepts and ideals of libertarianism can go ahead and join the Facebook group and we can talk about it. So we're very welcoming, but obviously you just can't be a piece of poop. So, you know, as long as you're a good person, we welcome everyone. But understand that when you're there, you will learn about libertarianism and you will hear the voice of liberty in the Valley. So.
Thank you very much, Mase. Okay, so we're going to start with some of the questions that students came up with. And so the way we're going to do this is, see, Danny went first last time, so we'll reverse within each party, coming on down for this next question. So Norma, if you could answer this next question, and then Danny, if you could give us what you see as the basic beliefs of your party and what the role of your party should be in elections and when it's not election time. So what are the basic beliefs of your party, and then what do you think the role of the party should be that you're wanting to lead? And you have 3 minutes, I'm sorry, and I will jump in.
The platform of our party is equality and justice for all, whether it be in education, in healthcare, in jobs, whether you're female or male, whether you're disabled or you have any other type of disability. It is extremely important for the Democrats to be inclusive and include as many people as in there as possible. One of the things that we are not is cookie cutters. And that's why it is very difficult to organize and run the Democratic Party because of the diverse people that we bring in. We welcome everyone. So that's our main platform. My role as the Democratic Party chair in the elections is to make sure that we make the voting process as easy as possible and put out as many voting polling sites as possible into our communities so that we get as many votes as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot bring education, we cannot bring jobs, we cannot bring many of the things that we would like to bring if we do not have the votes to bring in the funds that are ours. Our system is taxes. Whether we like it or not, that's a reality. We get taxed for everything. We get taxed if we work. We have we get taxed if we go eat. We get taxed if we buy something. When you put gasoline into your vehicle, you get taxed. And we can continue to talking about taxes. One thing is that we are not bringing in the votes. So when we send our congressmen and our state representatives to fight for better education and for more programs, we need to make sure that they can stand up there and say, we have the votes, telling us and backing us so that the people in Austin and in Washington can listen and can hear. So that's what I want to do, is bring out the vote.
Great, thank you very much. Danny Diaz, again, the question is what the basic beliefs of your party is, and what do you think the role of the party should be in elections and when it's not election time?
Sure. Thank you for the question. I think when I think of the Democratic Party, and the reason that I jumped into the Democratic Party and the reason my family's been in the party for a long time is because we think of access to opportunity, like Norma said, access to opportunity for all people, regardless of race, regardless of where you come from, what country you come from, regardless of who you love, no matter what religion you're from. Everybody has dreams and aspirations to be able to reach the American dream. So earlier I mentioned, for example, the Pell Grant, which has been critical to the success of many first-time, many generations that have been able to go to college, first-generation students, to be able to provide for their families. And the result has been great economic stimulus for this country, right? Because we invested in the minds and young people that wanted to do better for themselves, right? Not only did they do better, but the country did better because as a result of that. We see it with wanting to fight for equal rights and justice for everybody, regardless of who they are or where they come from, right? And that's something that I've been doing. I hope that I've been doing the last 10 years the best that I possibly can, not only as somebody that's in public education now, but in times going back all the way to college when I was doing activism work, fighting for the beliefs that I thought were the right things to do in our country, to being a community organizer with nonprofit organizations, trying to organize people to find their own voice, right? So that's what I want to do with a local party. We want to make sure that people find the power of their individual voice. Individuals like Teresa Barrera from Colonia del J from Alamo, Texas, who was an immigrant woman that came from Matamoros, Tamaulipas, Mexico 30 years ago, just to find out that her conditions in Colonia del J were worse than her conditions in Mexico. So she had a choice to make 30 years ago. She either accepted her new environment and did nothing about it, or she actually stood up and said, you know what, I'm gonna do something about it. So what did she do? She got all her neighbors together, they organized, they created a committee, a neighborhood committee to improve the conditions in that neighborhood. A lot of them were permanent residents, so they made the decision to become citizens. They went out and voted, they met with their commissioners, with their legislators, and 30 years later, their community has been completely transformed. They have, a public park named after her, Teresa Barrera Park. They have good streets, they have street lights, and they've not only done good for themselves, but for a generation of people, teaching them what civic engagement is all about. So what I want to do in the party is to make sure that we bring back that spirit of civic engagement, of volunteerism, the importance of getting involved, regardless of what party, regardless of what views you have. I think right now in Hidalgo County, we need more people to be involved in the political process. Get up the vote, right? 15 to 20% in the primary election of voter turnout, it's not gonna cut it. If we wanna bring more resources, better public education, more jobs, and have a bigger voice in Austin and Washington, D.C., it's absolutely critical. I ask you all, I beg you, that when you go out and vote, take 10 people with you, 15 people with you, and educate them about your views and why you're getting involved. I always say this to people, find an issue that you care about, that you're passionate about. I found mine in public education and the DREAM Act because it was closely related to me, but so many other people have many other issues that they care about, and keep that close to you and make that a reason to go out and vote and convince your friends to go out and vote for those reasons. So that's how I plan to motivate people to be involved in the party and get the vote up, and at the same time, bring more resources to our region of South Texas. So
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so Bob Bonds, question goes to you. If you could, in 3 minutes, you'd sort of give what the basic beliefs of your party is and what you think the role of the party should be in elections and outside of elections.
Thank you. Okay, what are the basic values of the Hidalgo County Republican Party? First of all, it's to become the voice of the people. The people have been disenfranchised by the soft tyranny of a one-party political system that has controlled this county for over 30 years. So the party needs and will be the voice of the people. Okay? Our role at the Hidalgo County Republican Party is to reestablish a viable two-party political system in this county. The political elites in this county believe they can operate with impunity. They believe that they can do whatever they want and they're not accountable to the people. I publicly challenged our county judge in a forum where he said in a presentation that we needed a new courthouse. I didn't disagree with him. But in his presentation of a 20-minute video where he showed the failure of our county commissioners for the past 20 years to be good stewards of what they had been given, I was appalled because it was an indictment of poor leadership in our county government. So then I asked him the $64,000 question. Judge, you want to build this building for $150 million. Don't you think you should go and talk to the people about that? And his answer to me was no. We're the county commissioners, and we know what we're doing. So our party needs to be the voice of the people. We are for limited government. Okay? Government, when it grows at the expense of the people. Okay? We believe in the Constitution of the United States, okay, as written, not by interpretation of unelected officials by politically appointed judges. The Constitution is the basis of our government, and if we don't stand up for that, we lose it all. Our party needs to take our message to the people, as I said, because you've been disenfranchised. Okay? And that's our role as a party. As a party chairman, I have several objectives. One is we're not going to repeat the same mistakes that made the Hidalgo County political party nothing. Okay? We dropped off the radar scope 30 years ago. We're not going to make those mistakes. We've had some successes. We're going to build on them. We're going to go out and take our message to the people. We're going to find every public forum that we can get into and educate. We're going to raise money so that young men and young women who want to get into politics have an opportunity to get in the process. Okay? We're going to go out and taking our message to the people. We're going to do voter registration drives. In the 17 years I've been in Hidalgo County as a registered Republican, we have yet to have a voter registration drive. We have ceded that ground to our opposition, and that has to stop. When we go out and we engage the public in voter registration drives, we are taking our message to you and getting rid of the fake news about what the Republican Party stands for. Okay? So that's what it's about. It's limited government, giving the people back their voice. It's about standing up against the soft tyranny of a corrupt one-party political system, okay, that takes and takes and takes and takes. How can we be one of the 5 poorest counties in Texas and have the highest property taxes, or one of the highest property taxes? Okay, the judge can't answer that. It's all about Robin Hood or robbing the hood politics, and that has to stop. Okay, and that's what I see as part of my role as the next chairman of the Hidalgo County Republican Party.
Great, thank you very much, Bob. Adrienne, again, the question being what your basic beliefs, as you see it, of your party, and what the role of your party should be in elections and outside of election season.
Okay, well, for me, the Republican Party's conservative values, I'm pro, well, okay, let me start again. I used to be a Democrat, and one of the reasons why I was switched over was I believe in a limited government, like Mr. Bond said. I'm also pro-Second Amendment. I'm also pro-conservative values. I'm also, the growth, opportunity, and prosperity, individual liberty. There's just so many reasons to say that you're Republican and what our platform stands for. But I also wanted to tap into something as I was listening to the Democratic candidates and some of the things that they were saying about, and it's really just been getting me. I've been wanting to talk about it since I started talking, but that they fight for justice and that they fight for equality, and that I don't think it's very fair for the Democrats to just be entitled for that, because I believe in all that too. I believe in equality. I believe in justice. There's a lot of good people on both sides of the aisle. But again, going back to the question, I am for limited government. I am for pro-Second Amendment. I am for individual responsibility. I don't think that we need to be taxed to death. I don't think that it's hard to beat Santa Claus in the Rio Grande Valley. I mean, if you give everything away for free, people will stop working for it. And you have a society of dependence. And I've seen it. I attended a school in Edinburgh. I had a good friend. She was very talented. She was a whiz on the computer. And she did get with the wrong guy. She got pregnant, had 3 kids. And I remember I encouraged her to go to school. I tried to help her get a job. I got her an interview at a law firm. And she said, you know what, I'm not going to take it. She had already gotten the job. And she said she didn't want to take it because she was worried that the government would take away her benefits. And so we do have a society of it's hard to get out because, it's like if you make too much, I could sit here and we don't have enough time to go through all the different things. But the role of the party, going to the second question, the role of the party, I believe, is to support the platform and also to support all the candidates. I mean, obviously, who wants corruption, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys as well don't like corruption. But it's about supporting and encouraging other young individuals as well that have similar values. And I think we both want to do that. You know, supporting candidates, the Republican candidates, is so very important. If you can't have your chair support your candidates, then you're going to have a weak party. So we do need to come together and work together on all of our races and make sure that our candidates are vetted properly and make sure that our young, the next generation is fully equipped, has exactly what they need. I was a precinct chair for the past, I don't know, 5, 6 years, and I never received any data whatsoever, so walking the street was a little difficult. And one of the things that I think we need to do is equip the next generation. Don't just swear them in, make sure that they know exactly what they need to do. We have to mentor them. And so one of the reasons why I want to do this is because I want to mentor our young Republicans, the next generation, to be fully equipped, but also be able to work across the aisle on certain things. I mean, if you can have common goals, then our county's going to go far. I'm not saying to compromise your values, because I will never do that. But I think it's good for us to, you know, see individuals as human beings. We might differ on this issue, but we come together on this issue. And, you know, when 9/11 took place, I remember how afraid and you know, that's why security is so important. Border security is so very important. And I think there's a misunderstanding because the delivery hasn't been shared properly. You know, there's not this war with Mexico. It has a lot to do with security and how you're going to keep Americans safe. And I think that sometimes as Republicans, we have a hard time explaining the compassionate side of things. And that's something that we lack, and I think that that's something I'd like to do. It's something I would like to work on. But by putting our next leaders front and center and encouraging them and giving the tools that they need, we're going to control to grow the party. Working for the Texans for Greg Abbott campaign for a year, I walked the streets. I had to knock on doors, 250 signatures a week for a year. That calculates to 13,000, I believe, near 13,000. And so I know, I've listened, that not everybody has the same issue on everything. There's different reasons why, you know, some of our young Republicans are here. They're not all the same. There is no cookie cutter party. We all have been raised differently. We all have different lenses. We've experienced different things. But after you've spoken to so many different factions and you realize you just need a leader that will listen to everybody and make them feel welcoming. I've heard numerous times from some of our, you know, younger generation that they don't feel as welcome to the party. And so that's something that I really want to stop. I want to make sure that anybody that comes into the county party, that they do feel welcomed, whether they agree with everything that I say 100% or not.
Great,
yeah,
thank you very
I will.
much. Appreciate it. And then finally, Mase, Molina, again, the question to you. What are the basic beliefs of your party, and what do you think the role of your party should be, both in elections and outside of election season?
All right, so the Libertarian Party, just like other parties, is a very diverse party. And we have right-leaning libertarians, left-leaning libertarians. We have some libertarians who don't even think the state should exist, you know, and it's others that are more constitutionalist. But we try to focus on things that draw us together. And one of the fundamental core principles is the non-aggression principle. So don't hurt other people, keep your hands to yourself, and, you know, always have consent when in your interactions with other people. We just try to apply that as far and wide as possible. And anyone can look up the non-aggression principle. Probably you're going to Google something, Ayn Rand will come up, even though she wasn't a libertarian. But nevertheless, so we do focus on limited government, on efficient spending of tax money so that the money reaches the people who need it the most, as well as equality under the law. So a lot of these things that I'm saying might seem like buzzwords, or you might, you know, hear them repeated by both of the other two parties, but we're not a mishmash of Republicans and Democrats. We're not just Republicans who want to legalize weed. We're not Republican light. We're not Democrats who just want to spend less. We have our own core beliefs and values stemming all the way from classical liberalism and before that. So what we want is to maximize individual freedom for everyone. And the reason for that is because at the end of the day, at the core of it, government is force. It's the barrel of a gun. And so it doesn't mean you can't have any. It just means you have to set a very high bar for a justification when to use it. So libertarians are not pacifists. We believe in self-defense, and that's what we believe the proper role of government is. And like I said, equality under the law, and we don't want government imposing its own view of what the good life is, because my view of the good life might not be what your view of the good life is, and that's okay. We can peacefully coexist, and that's what we want. And now for a non-political statement, I would say that there ultimately, no matter what party you vote for, it's important to keep in mind that there are two core values that help make the world a better place. One is truth, and the other is love. And I know it sounds very cheesy, but it's the truth. And, you know, I know, it's tautological, right? But one without the other can go very, very wrong. So good intentions can pave the road to hell, so to speak. But I do think that we can all learn a lot from this discussion, and again, to go outside the political realm, we can learn a lot from Dr. Seuss. If anyone seen the movie or read the book, The Lorax, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, the next question, I'm going to ask one more question, and then we're going to open up to the audience, because I have other questions from students, but I want to be able to save time. So the last question that I'll ask before we open it up, and so we'll start, now that we've done, as we've gone through here, let's start at this end and work our way that way. So Mase, if you could answer the question, if you could give your opinions on, this is the student's question, if you could give your opinion on ballot access laws.
Well,
that would be a good one for you, right?
That would be really good for me. Well, I mean, obviously, I think everyone should be a citizen in order to vote. But in terms of the laws, such as real ID laws and things of that nature, the last I looked up, I was reading this article from a lawyer, actually, who's saying even though the written words of such laws were not discriminatory, in many states that he was investigating, they were used in discriminatory manners. And so I'm very, very hesitant of supporting ballot access laws.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should clarify. Ballot access laws meaning more than two parties being able to get onto the ballot.
Oh,
sorry.
Well, I think every party should be. I'm a libertarian. I think every party should be allowed ballot access, right? I mean, we have the Libertarian Party has to jump through, you know, flaming hoops to get on the ballot. Yeah, I mean, I think that if you know, you want to put your name on the ballot, you can go ahead. I mean, I don't think it should cost that much to put a name on a piece of paper. But for larger elections, I mean, maybe if it's mathematically possible for you to, you know, get enough electoral college votes or something like that, some people have, you know, made that statement that you should be allowed ballot access. And I think it doesn't matter if you're, you know, a libertarian, you could be like a Green Party candidate or whatever. I think the more voices that are out there, the better, so that people don't get locked into a false dichotomy thinking that they have to vote Republican or Democrat.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And let's go to Bob. Again, the question is about what is your opinion on ballot access laws expanding for more than two parties?
Thank you. First of all, this country was founded on the premise that all citizens should have a voice in government. Okay? And so therefore, I have to agree with this gentleman here that if you have a political group, and as long as you're not advocating the anarchy or the overthrow of the government of the United States of America, then you have I think you have a right to be on the ballot, okay? And let the people decide who is going to represent them, okay? Now, I'm not in favor of a parliamentary system or like we have in England or up in Canada, okay? It's so dysfunctional that nothing really gets done. But if independent parties, such as the Libertarian Party, the Green Party, and even the Communist Party, if they want to put candidates on the ballot, they should be allowed to do that. And let the people decide who is going to represent them. And if there are people who identify with that particular form of political thought or ideology, that's a protected freedom that they have under the Constitution, okay? And we should allow them to express themselves under our Constitution. So I don't have a problem with that, okay? And I think the good that comes out of that is that it takes the mainline parties and challenges them to look at what are they really talking about? You know, what's your message, okay? And if your message is such that you're losing touch with the people, that should be a call to action. That should motivate you to be responsive. You say that you want to lead, okay, and you have a responsibility to do that, then you need to be responsive to the people that are going to entrust you to lead, whether it's your county, your city, your state, or your national government. So I'm all in favor of that, because it's the Constitution starts out, we, the people. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Bob. Adrienne, same question to you.
Well, it obviously we're all entitled to do what we feel is best, but I've been paying attention to politics for quite some time, and I mean, I can give you a nice sweet answer how I think that's a good idea, but then I can also be a little bit of a realist and say that that doesn't work. You know, there's enough diversity in both of our parties that we really don't need to do that. I mean, we can agree to disagree. If you really want to change something within the platform, then it's really up to you to get involved with the party that is most likely like you, that you identify with, and become a precinct chair, or go to a county convention, then go to state convention. You know, write a resolution on the precinct level. Say that you don't support this. Say you'd like to change that. I don't really feel the need, but obviously, I mean, I do support everyone's right to do what they feel, you know, called to. But I believe that if there's something within the Democratic platform that you don't like, that you should get involved with the Democratic Party and become a county chair, county convention, you know, the whole process. If you something that you don't like in the Republican Party platform, then it's up to you to go to convention, make your voice heard. But if you're complaining and you're not voting, then that's what happens.
Great, thank you very much. Norma, is your mic not working?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, your opinion on ballot access laws.
I think everyone should have the right to be able to be on the ballot if they choose to. The reason that you cannot do that is because of the party rules. And so you have to realize that we have to pay to get the ballots done. We have to pay for all the polling sites. And so it comes down to who's going to pay. The Democrats take care of their business and making sure that they try to get as many polling sites depending on the funds that they're able to gather. The funds that the state gives them, and then the funds that they're able to raise locally. And the Republicans do that as well. So if we have another person trying to be on the ballot, then that person has to make sure that they can have equal and fair and follow all the party rules so that they can have people come to their polling sites. So, and they have to have a primary, etc. So to rush and put your name on the ballot in November becomes, it's like raising your neighbor's children, basically. So that's become a problem. We do have to look at that further, though. We have issues that we should address, and we have to figure out how to get as many people on the ballot. And the reason I think that it's a good idea is because the more people that run, the more voters will come out to vote. If we have a gentleman that has never been on the ballot, I'm sure his family and friends and cousins and neighbors and the people that he's able to bring to the polling sites will come. Again, it's about votes. It's about getting people to the votes. But we have to follow the party rules. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And Danny, your opinion on ballot access?
Well, thank you for your question. I never really thought about this too deeply, but thank you for bringing it up. And I had a little bit of time here to think about it. But very, very interesting. Obviously, I'm in one of the two established, I'm running to represent one of the two established political parties, not only locally but nationally. But I'm not going to be against somebody that wants to be in the ballot, or a third or fourth or independent party that wants to be in the ballot. Number one, because I think it doesn't hurt to have larger diverse of opinion or conversation about the issues. I think that when you add somebody from the Libertarian Party, for example, or somebody from the Green Party or whatever other party, sort of forces a conversation to have more serious conversations about the issues that Americans care about, right? I think we've seen it in some national elections when somebody jumps in, right, a Green Party candidate, or I think on the Democratic side, where Bernie Sanders ran as a Democrat, but obviously came as an independent, sort of forced a conversation on a larger variety of issues. It helps people get more involved, more excited to hear more issues at the table, right? So I'll keep thinking about that, or have a more thorough answer. Maybe I'll follow up with you, Dr. Green, and think about it a little bit more. I don't know how to.
Okay,
exactly
great.
answer,
I appreciate
I
that.
do
Thank
like
you.
the diverse thought of political conversation.
Great.
I think it's good for democracy.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, Dr. Smith, you wanna be the gopher for the microphone? Okay, so we have a few minutes left. So, are there any questions that you would like to ask either the whole panel or individuals on the panel? Anyone at all, you can raise your hand. Yes, over here. And be nice. Oh, as nice as possible.
This is really more for the Republicans candidates, but the others can answer too. What is your plan to raise funds for the party?
So the question is, what is your plan to raise funds for the party? And it's going to the Republican candidates.
Hello? Okay. Well, you know, a Lincoln-Reagan dinner. When Eva Euler was the president of the Hidalgo Republican Women, she asked for help. And one of the great things about being born and raised here is you know people. Whether you need a lifeguard, or you need an event planner, or you need, you know, a fruit tray, I know somebody that can help. So fundraising is not a challenge for me. I believe a Lincoln-Reagan dinner, if you can, maybe a regional effort can make it happen. I think we did fairly well on the last one. If we can bring a big statewide, I have a couple in mind that I'd like to share with you afterwards. That's probably the least of my concerns, is the fundraising, because I know that that's something that I'm good at.
Yes, we need to get back to having the Lincoln-Reagan dinners. In the 17 years I've been here, I was on the committee of the last one, okay, and it was a very positive event. But there's more fundraising that can be done at a more grassroots sort of level, okay? And we can do things, and it can be, you know, let me just back up. I'm going to say one of the things that I have campaigned about is the cost of admission to being a member of the Republican Party is zip. Okay? Therefore, there's no real investment in what you're doing. You know, I think about it when I was a kid and I wanted something and I had a paper route and I saved my money and I bought it. It was a TV set. I remember that. And I was very proud of that, okay? And I've treasured that. We have, in the 17 years that I've been in Hidalgo County, we have never gone out and did a general fundraising campaign. We've never asked people to invest in their party. Okay? So if I'm elected chairman, one of the first pieces of communication that's going to go out is a letter asking people to give. And if you can't give financially, and we're not asking for $1,000 or anything, you know, if you write a check for $5, $50, or $500, you now have skin in the game. Okay? You're an investor in that company, and you're going to take a lot of pride in what that company does. Okay? I think that in big fundraisers, such as Adrienne alluded to, okay, that's good, but there are other things that people can do that don't have to be as extravagant. It takes our message to the people. You know, I've worked on enough chicken plate dinners, okay, to help pay medical bills for people in this community. I used to be a member of St. George's Orthodox Church, and that was our biggest fundraiser. We raised about $20,000 a year. We finally built it up to that. But that was little boobs there doing little things. So, you know, we need to go back to things that will draw people out. I'm not adverse to having a chicken plate deal. And I think what we ought to do when we raise funds as a political party, we ought to give part of that money back to charity, okay? It shows that we're tied and committed to the community, okay, that we care. And that kind of dispels some of the image that people have about Republicans, that we're not, you know, it's a false image. You know, if we raised $1,000 in a chicken plate deal, then what we ought to do is give $100 of that back to charity, something like the Salvation Army that does good for the people. Thank you for your question.
Great, thank you. Anyone else have another question for any individual candidates or groups of candidates? Over here? Better be a good question or I give you an F in class.
Hi.
Does it go to any particular person or group or the whole group?
The whole group, but specifically, probably one from each party. Out of curiosity, what is your view on healthcare or specifically Obamacare? If you think that we should have it or shouldn't have it.
Okay, well, let's start at the end and work this way.
Well, I think that healthcare is a right, not a privilege, first of all. I think that if we could take care of our citizens the way that many other first world countries around the world have been able to do, we could be able to invest those dollars in other things that we need to, you know, pay for. I think it's heartbreaking to see families sometimes completely go broke because they get sick. So if we're able to protect Americans from that situation, from, you know, a family getting cancer and suddenly everybody has to dig into their pockets and it affects them financially, not just for those couple years, but for generations in the future. I think we need to protect families in that situation, and I think we have the capacity to do that. Now, you also brought up Obamacare. I don't think Obamacare was perfect. I think it was a starting point, but there's been a lot of debate about how it could be fixed. There's obviously Republicans are talking about completely repealing it and replacing it with something else. But us in this side, we're looking at its flaws. Obviously, when it passed, it wasn't a single-payer system, which is the system that I support. It wasn't the system that, you know, people on this side completely supported either. But yeah, the core of it, is the reason why I believe healthcare should be a right for all Americans, you know, unencumbered, regardless of their age or where they come from. Is because I think that if we're a healthier society, they're able to, you know, focus on going to school, paying for college, paying for their kids' tuition, you know, go look for a job. You know, you don't have to worry about that. That's something that could be taken care of, and in turn you can invest in other things. But thank you for your question.
Thank you, Norma.
Okay, well, first of all, you're looking at a person that is definitely would fight for health care. And the reason is because, as I mentioned earlier, I have two sons. Well, one of them had a pre-existing condition. And for 12 years, I had to pay for his medications because he did not qualify to get insured. His medications cost me $1,500 a month. I did that for 12 years. And that did not include doctor visits. It did not include a lot of therapy and other things that he needed. It was a great sacrifice, and it was very, very difficult for me at times to be able to decide whether I needed to pay my mortgage or pay for my son's medications. So I know exactly how it feels to be in those shoes. And definitely Obamacare made a big difference in our lives because of Obamacare, he qualified finally for insurance. We didn't even care what the premium was. It was $286 a month. We were happy to pay for that. We definitely need some type of medical care for all our citizens of the United States. It's atrocious that we cannot afford to get our teeth fixed, our eyes glasses, just our basic everyday needs. Even now, today, when you get insurance, it doesn't include eyewear, it doesn't include dental. You know, I have an employee, I have 30 employees. I have one that his daughter was born deaf. And even Medicaid doesn't want to pay for her to have some of these operations that she needs because she might be able to hear. We definitely need to fight for health care. So I ask everyone to please support me because we need votes to be able to go to Austin and Washington and fight for health care for all. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Adrienne?
Please excuse me, I keep yawning. I've been at the polls all day holding my own sign. I know that most candidates don't do that. I do that. Well, you know, forcing Americans to pay, you know, there's so many different views, even in my own party, in reference to this, but, you know, healthcare should be affordable. It should be affordable. I don't think that, you know, it should be repealed and replaced. It's not very popular here for me to say that, but I'm going to say the truth. That's the way I feel. The bottom line is, you know, some of this, like the hospital tax that took place, and 75% of the voters said no. There's a reason for that. You know, and if there is, you know, obviously it's not going to be Obamacare. It's going to be Trump care, right? But whatever it does, whatever they do decide, I think it's very, very important that, you know, people that want to get the help can afford it. You know, it's been out of, I mean, obviously, I mean, I was raised believing like in the utopian idea that we could take care of everybody, and, you know, I wish I could, but it's just not the way the world works.
Great, thank you very much. Bob, 1 minute.
I'd like the other candidates here. I work in the healthcare industry. I spent 23 years in my military career in the Air Force Medical Service, okay? And then I have worked in the healthcare industry since leaving the military. And that includes not only private sector healthcare, but I've worked in the healthcare system for Native Americans. Unfortunately, the federal government's involvement in healthcare is a disaster, okay? It has created a monstrous bureaucracy that absorbs dollars that could be spent for better things. I have spent constant hours and countless hours trying to help people who come into our medical clinics to get help from a government bureaucracy that's supposed to be working for them, okay, and it fails. What we need to really do is get the government, the federal government, out of the healthcare business. We need to create incentives in private industry where people can do things much more cost effectively than the government. When I was in Enid, Oklahoma, after I retired from the Air Force, I went to work for the Catholic healthcare system. And one of the things that we did was we saw that the working poor did not have access to care during the day because they're out there trying to make a living, okay, and feed their family. So what did we do? We rallied together our local physicians and set up a very functional after-hours clinic. And it was a community effort. And we did it much more effectively than we could have done if we'd gone and applied for a government grant. Okay? Physicians in this country get sued for being good Samaritans. That's wrong, okay? That's the legal system that's wrong in that. You know, our veterans, and I'm a disabled veteran, okay, after 23 years of service, okay? I get crappy health care from the federal government, all right? You know, when I look at, and I'm also now in Medicare, okay? When I look at the fact of the matter is that I was your age when Lyndon Johnson sold this country a bill of goods called Medicare, right? Was supposed to be the panacea to take care of the people that you would like to see taken care of. Well, our unscrupulous politicians in Washington, D.C., within 3 years after the establishment of Medicare, abolished the Medicare Trust Fund, took all those dollars that the taxpayers were having taken out of their paycheck. You work? Okay. So that money that's coming out of your paycheck, instead of going into a trust fund, which was originally established under the law so that your parents or your grandparents or your aunts or uncles, or when you reach the age of 66, from which I am right now, okay, there would be something there to help with your health care costs. That money's been gone since 1969, folks. That's unscrupulous politicians at work. Okay. So what I would like to see is get the federal government out of it, create incentives for the private sector and for non-governmental organizations, NGOs, that can do this job better, more efficiently, and more compassionately. Okay? And that kind of, says something here. I'm a free enterprise guy, and I think free enterprise does things better, and I think non-governmental organizations that all of us here have been involved in, as I've listened to people's stories tonight, have done a hell of a better job serving the citizens than a government bureaucracy. Thanks for the question, sir.
Great, thank you, Bob. And finally, Ms. Molina, you and your party's opinion on healthcare, especially government healthcare.
All right. Well, definitely not a fan of Obamacare, and it's not just because it's cheaper for me to pay the fee than it is to get insurance, but just for the fact, like Mr. Bob Bonds was saying, I think the federal government tends to drive up costs, and that does not mean that I want to just get rid of it and then go back to what we had before, because what we had before was still not free enterprise. And honestly, a lot of the medical industry in the United States is not a free market. It's actually just corporate welfare. And there's a lot of crony capitalism going on, and there's patents involved. It's beyond Obamacare. There's patents, FDA. It's high barriers and costs of entering the market, things like that. It's very anti-competitive, which is driving costs up. And the fact that people have been having out-of-pocket expenses go down and relying more on insurance is driving up the costs. Now, there's different things you could do. You could have health savings accounts, which I can't even afford to have a health savings account, so I don't think that's a panacea either. You could have medical vouchers as a middle-of-the-road compromise, which most libertarians might not like, but that's something that I think would be more popular with people, and you're spending that tax money anyway, so why not just cut everyone a check, and then that money is in their bank account, but it would be for medical expenses. But I don't have an answer to what we should do, quote unquote. Like I said, I do think it's going to be, it should be more up to the marketplace and people innovating and with new technology, all of that. But again, it goes beyond Obamacare. It goes into the patent system and all of that stuff too.
Great, thank you very much, Mase. Okay, well, we are basically out of time. So what I'm going to do is we are going to go, I guess, in reverse order here, and you're going to have 30 seconds to close, because I promised that we'd try to get it within that hour, and we're a little bit over. So each of you will have 30 seconds to close with your pitch for why people should go out and vote for you for chair of your party. So we'll start here with the Libertarian Party and move that way. So, Ms. Molina?
Well, I think you should go out and vote, because the only way representative government works is if it represents the actual people and their actual views. And don't vote for who you think is going to win. Think about who actually represents your views the best, because that's the only way that we have a truly representative government, a government that actually represents what you truly believe.
Great, thank you much.
What I'm asking you to do when you vote for me is to help me restore the voice of the people in local government. This is a local political issue. Our local government has become corrupt. We're living under the soft tyranny of a corrupt one-party political system, okay, where the politicians believe that they can do what they want whenever they want with the people's money. So I've campaigned on this since I declared my candidacy back in December. I think it's an important issue. I think we all want a better government, but I'm kind of calling it the way I see it, folks. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Bob. Okay, Norma? Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Well, okay.
Doing three things at once.
My pitch is go to my website, www.adriennepenagarza.com. There is way too much to say and very little time for you to get to know me and to trust me. I'd like to earn your trust. It's okay to change, change decisions and vote independently. I think that the Republican Party is a big tent party that you should consider me. I'll walk the streets, I'll talk to you, I'll listen to your concerns, and I hope to earn your trust. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm there. You can call me as well, 956-227-1366. I'd love to talk to you. Thank you.
Adrienne, thank you very much. And then Norma, please.
Well, I would like for you to consider my education, my experience. I would also like you to consider that out of the 22 cities that we have in Hidalgo County, over 17 of the mayors and commissioners have endorsed me. I've been endorsed by the Tejano Democrats. I've been endorsed by Terry Canales, our state representative. I've been endorsed by numerous and many others, too many to say. I think they stand behind me because they understand that I can and will make a difference. I am pledging to you today that I will work full-time, that I do not have a position right now with the company that I own. My boys take care of that. And that my goal is to be successful in everything that I do. And as a Democratic Party chair, I know that I will make a difference. Corruption exists in all parties. And the reason it exists is because only a few of us vote. In order to make a difference for who you vote for, you have to make sure that we do not have the same people voting. We must all go to the polls, and yes, we must bring others and keep registering people. That is the only way we can stop corruption. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And finally, Danny?
Well, I'm from Hidalgo County. Like I mentioned, I'm from Palmview, Texas. I love Hidalgo County. I love the Rio Grande Valley. It hurts me when I see poverty here. It hurts me when I see lack of opportunity. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I know it's absolutely critical for us to use our right to vote to have our voices heard in Austin and Washington, D.C. We need to go out and vote if we want to demand greater opportunity for us here in the Valley. I want to lead the local Democratic Party to set up an infrastructure at the grassroots level to be able to touch all precincts across the county. We have over 250 voting precincts. The majority of them are not filled. We need to recruit people like yourselves that care about your community to join the party. Come in, let's organize. I'll invest in your leadership development. I'll invest in, learning how to, organize your communities to fight for what you believe in. The Democratic Party, doors are open to you to come in and organize and change the low voter turnout that we have now and to jack it up and have our voices heard down here. So thank you very much for having us, Dr. Green.
Great, thank you very much. Okay. Before we say goodbye to them, I want to remind you just of the mechanics here. Right now, early voting is going on, so and during early voting, you can vote anywhere in Hidalgo County where there's a polling location. There will be an early voting polling location here at the STC Mid-Valley campus on Monday and Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., so you are able to vote on campus here as well to make it very convenient. I would also remind you, this is a primary, so you get to go in, because we don't register by party here, so you get to go in and you tell them which party primary you want to vote in. Do you want the Democratic or Republican primary? I also remind you that the Libertarian Party doesn't have a primary, they have a convention. So if you want to participate in their selection process, their convention is coming up in March, and I'm sure Mase can tell you about that as well. It's going to be in McAllen. So, but if you want to participate in their convention system, don't vote in the primary, because under Texas law, you can only do one or the other party or a third party. And if you vote in a Democratic primary or a Republican primary, you can't go and take part in any Libertarian Party or Green Party activities or anything like that. That's the way they've set it up. So, just as a reminder, let's give a nice hand and thank our candidates for coming today, and thank you for coming as well. And please join the Political Science Club as well. Thank you.